What is going on YouTube? 0088 here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Avatar: The Way of the Water.
Let's get it done.
James Cameron, I swear that brother is blessed. Every time he does something, he just hits it out of the park. He does it his way. He's not copying any trends. He just does what he wants to do. He brought in the 3D trend and he's trying to bring it back again. But anyway, I saw Avatar: The Way of the Water a few weeks ago. I prepped by watching Avatar again. The first film, I thought it was decent. I didn't really get the massive, beautiful hype. I can see that the world is beautiful and everything like that, but I didn't get that thing that everyone got where they were obsessed and had to see it 1 billion times and they were loving it. But I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the story for what it was. Everyone said it. It's like Pocahontas, Ferngully and all that shit. And yeah, it's got a basic storyline, you know, the whole colonialism thing and all that crap. But it's aliens instead of Africans or indigenous people or whatever. So Avatar, the first film, was good. I enjoyed it, but it never really had a massive cultural impact, like, you know, the way Avengers, for example, is, and there's Thanos memes, Infinity Gauntlet, people reference Thanos and everything now, and obviously Batman, Joker's references, you know, Superman, like all these big popular franchises, Star Wars, even Titanic, Terminator, they've all got kind of cultural imprints on the world that Avatar never really felt like it did, which is really weird. I don't know what it is about Avatar, and most people go to see that movie, both movies, just to look at the beautiful aesthetics of it, not so much the story or the characters or anything like that. Though Way of the Water is a bit different. It feels like there's a lot more story in this one. There's a lot more characters in this one, and I think what I enjoyed most about Way of the Water was the characters. It's been a while, I watched it a couple of weeks ago, but the thing about Way of the Water is the story is kind of basic. Jake and his family, they want to move away from the forest. They want to move to the ocean because they think they'll be safe there, because obviously the Colonel's back alive and he's now in a Na'vi body, and he wants to hunt Jake Sully down and get revenge kind of for him killing his human body. And so Jake knows that they're not going to stop searching for him. They're going to keep attacking the forest. So in order to save the forest and to save his family, he's got to get the fuck out of Dodge and go to the ocean and learn the way of the water. And this is where we kind of learn the way of the water with him, or not even with Jake, more with his family. And James Cameron, again, he hits out the park. He does the new generation thing right. There's a whole bunch of, the ironic thing about Avatar is this is a sequel to something that was, I don't know if it was always planned to be a sequel, but this is a sequel to something that took, like, what was it, been 12 years or something like that? I don't know how long it's been, forever. But most of these movies that come out now, where they kind of do the previous generation, such as Star Wars, the new Ghostbusters, not the shitty 2016 one, Cobra Kai, all of these things, that Cobra Kai does it well, all of these old franchises that get brought back are they're actually brought back, you know, whereas Avatar is just a genuine sequel, but it feels like an old franchise because how long it took to make. And yeah, James Cameron just does that right. Like the characters, the young characters, you care about them. He made you care about them while not shitting on the older characters like a lot of these franchises do today. They'll shit on the older characters and not really show them as paragons or strong people and make the new generation seem like they're right about everything. But the old generation is usually wrong sometimes. The new generation is usually wrong sometimes. And they show that in this movie with the kids look up to their elders, they listen to their elders, but they have their own ideas as well, and they save them sometimes, and it's all, you care about everyone in this. And I like Jake's character development as well. He went from kind of like the wide-eyed, whoa, outstanding guy, you know, he went from that like excitable kid to like he's a proper soldier, and he's like focused on his family, and he's a strict dad, and I kind of liked it. I watched Moist Critical's review, and he didn't like how Jake is a bit of a moody, angry dad, but I kind of liked it. It kind of shows how he's changed as a father, you know, like he's very protective. I mean, it's realistic, it's believable, because if you're going to be fighting a war constantly, and you know these people were your people previously, and on top of that you're trying to protect your family, and people see you as this, you know, leader, almost king-like figure of the people there, you have a lot on your plate. You're going to be a strict dude. You're going to grow up really fast. And I like how Jake kind of grew up in those 12 years. We didn't get to see it, but we know he has by how different he is now, and I like that. Natiri, she doesn't get much screen time in this because they want to focus on the kids more. Zoe Saldana still kicks it out the park as usual, but she still does her screaming thing. She goes, yeah, like the way she screams is mad to me. But yeah, she does that a lot in this film, and but she's good. She gets really, like, you know, mama bear in this film, and she's really aggressive, and she's about. One of my favorite scenes was when Jake was basically telling her to stop going, yeah, like stop crying, like I need you right now, Natiri, I need you to be strong. Jake is saying that to her, and then she just kind of just listens to him and fixes up, and she just gets up, this stone cold look on her face, and she's ready to fucking commit murder on even people that her family cares about, just to save her kids. You know, I don't want to spoil it too much what happens there. But yeah, Natiri is, the little screen time she gets is really powerful, and it's good, you know. And that's another thing, Jake trying to bring Natiri up. I really love that, because you don't get that today. Like, ironically, even though James Cameron is saying stuff like, testosterone and toxic masculinity and all that, he's saying that's all bad, or whatever else is criticized. He's saying all the, you know, NPC, SJW type crap, but in Avatar, Jake is a strong father. He's a strong man. He's never belittled. He's leading the family. He's doing all the typical traditional stuff that you expect from like a leader, male figure of a family, even though James Cameron was saying otherwise in his interviews. But yeah, that's surprising. You don't get that much. Like, last time you got that was probably in Top Gun Maverick or some shit, you know. So yeah, you don't get that much in movies today. It's usually about putting the man down, and how the masculine figure is putting everybody else down or something. But no, everybody's working as a team in this. They're a tight-knit family. There's some disagreements here and there, but sometimes Jake is right about stuff, sometimes he's wrong about stuff. Sometimes the kids and the women or whatever are right about stuff, and sometimes they're wrong about stuff. It's just, sometimes there's arguments, just like real life, and sometimes most of the time in the end they have to work as a team to pull through and accomplish what they want to accomplish. And I just really appreciate that in this story. We don't get that anymore. It's always some kind of vindictive thing to make a certain group look bad or something nowadays in Hollywood, you know. So that was nice. Obviously the effects are out of this world. I watched it in 3D IMAX, and it was just amazing. You could feel them coming out at you and all this kind of stuff. And when they were underwater swimming with that whale, and I think Jake's son is swimming with the whale, that was just incredible. Like, the visuals are just out of this world. Like, it feels like 3D really makes you feel like you're in the movie. Some people I've seen on the other side of the political spectrum crying about the nature and the anti-whaling message and all this kind of crap, and I'm just like, look man, movies are going to have messages in it. You can't take out every single bit of politics. It's only when the politics doesn't make sense with the story that it's bad. But whaling and nature, you're gonna have to touch on that when you're talking about the Na'vi and Avatar, because they've already established they're about nature, and they're about the forest, and they're about the sea, and they're about animals, and so it's gonna come naturally to have all that kind of political stuff about whaling and things like that, you know. When you're talking about the sea, you're gonna get whales. And that was really emotional, man. It made you feel it, that these people were just destroying this intelligent life form, this whale family or whatnot, just to get this like $80 million whale juice or whatever that makes people not die or not age or whatnot. And I was just like, damn man, the way they destroyed that whale systematically, and they showed you every little detail of how they destroy this whaling pack, this whale pack or whatnot, it will get you a bit emotional when you're watching it, man. Get you a bit emotional. So that was a really good scene, especially after you've built up like the relationship between Jake's son and that whale that he befriends. They're both kind of the outcasts, they're both kind of the black sheeps of the family, and I thought that was really powerful. Now, speaking of the main antagonist, the Colonel from the first film, I think it's like an avatar. He's in an avatar body. They saved his consciousness just in case he was going to die, and they transferred his consciousness to this avatar body, and which I thought was interesting. It was a bit weird, but I don't know how that works exactly. And then apparently he also has a son. I think his name was not Sprite or something. I can't remember his name. It was a few weeks ago. I watched this now, and the son, who I think looks like Tekashi 6ix9ine. My sister doesn't think so, but I think he fully looks like Tekashi 6ix9ine. The son and the dad, I knew they were going to have like a little thing going on here, which is ironic. I think it was very interesting how the son is a human and the dad is now an RV who he almost, I don't know if he hates them, it seems like he hates them, but he's in an RV body, and now they're kind of like opposites. And the Colonel, you can sort of see now that he's in this RV body, he's kind of slowly becoming more human, ironically, and he's kind of, because he has the son is the key, he's like the kind of like the heart of this story, not this story but his story, and because of the son, he doesn't commit atrocities that he normally would. Like, he doesn't kill the queen of an RV village because the son was telling him not to. It was like, for his son, he didn't want to do it, you know? And he, maybe even in something inside him, was telling him not to do it, which I thought was really interesting character development. Like, he just doesn't seem as vicious or villainous as much as he did in the first film. Still quite villainous in this, but not as much. And one of the most powerful scenes, I thought, was when Neytiri was willing to, and I think she was going to do it, was willing to kill Tekashi 6ix9ine in order to save Jake or whatever. And I think the Colonel knew she was going to do it too, because he gave up Jake, I think he had Grace or whatever, Grace's daughter. I can't remember her name. I can't remember who he had. But anyway, he gave up the leverage that he had in order to save his son. And I was like, whoa, that's some mad character development right there. And what was also really cool was when Jake had beat up the guy that's terrorizing them, that kidnapped Tekashi 6ix9ine. Jake had defeated this guy. He was literally sitting there. He was gonna die. He was gonna drown. And the son was like, let me go back and save my dad, because obviously he owed him one. But I wonder if there's any kind of like, oh, I want to know my dad as well in there too. But I feel like most of it was because he owed him one, because the Colonel saved his life earlier. And I thought that was really powerful too. And for a second, I thought the kid was going to be with, just go off with the dad and be on their team, especially after Neytiri threatened his life, you know. But he went back to the Na'vi people with Jake and everyone and his family, or extended family. That's one of the key things I'm looking forward to in the future sequels, the storyline between the Colonel, his son, and how that's going to play out. That storyline's probably the number one intriguing storyline for me out of the rest of the stuff, like the war against the humans. That's just like the main plot isn't really interesting to me. It's all about the characters. When you get the characters right, you kind of get everything right, you know. And I'm just really curious about how the Colonel and his Tekashi 6ix9ine son, that relationship, where that's going to go, you know. I feel like he's going to end up joining the humans, which is going to be ironic, and maybe the Colonel will end up in an RV. That would be the ultimate, if they write it well, if James Cameron writes it well, that would be the ultimate character development and arc for a story. I can't wait to see what the future Where the Water films bring, just because of that storyline. Yeah, so I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed The Way of the Water. Part of me wants to see it again. Some bits were a bit draggy, it was a bit slow in some parts, but it's worth it when you're just seeing this constant, beautiful, gorgeous, real life looking CGI. And quick one thing, I did enjoy that whaler guy, the Australian whaler, and how he had this kind of beef with he's got this beef with Jake's son's whale, that's what I'm going to call him now. His whale, the one whale that's aggressive, because all the whales never want to fight for some reason. They're just really peaceful, and they're pacifists. But this one whale doesn't give a fuck, and he wants to fuck anybody up that comes in his way. That's why he got outcast. So that whale And that Australian guy, they did a little bit of Moby Dick, a little bit of Captain Ahab stuff there, and the whale just jumped over the thing, grabbed the rope. That sounds really weird when I'm saying it like the whale's got hands. But anyway, the harpoon was attached to the whale, I think, and it bit it or something, and he jumped the ship, and then the Captain Ahab guy got his arm trapped and his arm ripped off, and that was proper Moby Dick Captain Ahab reference, which is pretty cool. I'm sure there's going to be something to do with that in the future movies as well. Now, in terms of the sequel, you'd think the logical step would be the Way of the Fire, right? They'll go to the volcano town or volcano civilization or something of Na'vi, where they're all kind of orange or red or something, you know? That would be silly. That would be going too far. I think we're going to probably stick with the water, and we all know James Cameron loves to go deep in the sea. He loves the ocean, so I have a feeling we're going to stick with the water. But I would be interested. The first thing that came to my mind was when I was sitting there I said it to my sister, are they going to do Way of the Fire next? That would be weird. But anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts on Avatar: The Way of the Water. I really enjoyed it. Definitely a good movie. It's up there with, I think it deserves the money it's making, because just the effects alone was crazy. James Cameron, the only director to have $3 billion movies in the box office. That's crazy. Yeah, man, I can't wait for the sequel, and I hope we get more movies in this vein. I enjoyed it. I watched Critical Drinker's review, and he didn't like it. Which was interesting to me, because I feel like the way, especially with Jake and being the head of the family and all that stuff, the way all that was portrayed seemed right up his street. But yeah, this seems like then more like passion. This looks like someone made this out of their heart, and they wanted to tell a certain story, or they wanted to show something beautiful, you know? This wasn't made because they just want to tick some boxes or just trying to cash in some checks and or just make money. James Cameron's an auteur. He wanted to make what he wanted to make, and that's what I love. More stuff like this is what gets me excited, you know? Yeah, man, this Top Gun Maverick, those are probably our top films for last year. This year is probably going to be Mario, because that looks like it's made from the heart as well, but we'll see. But anyway, that's my Avatar: The Way of the Water review. If you liked it, please give me a like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you again. Peace.